All right, recording has started, and this is the March 7th, 2024 Crossplane community meeting. Let's get a link to this document here for everybody within the Zoom chat. Let's see where that is. Zoom chat window over here. There we go. So I've dropped a link into the Zoom chat so folks can get directly into this agenda document here. And I'll be accepting all these things. So if folks have a particular topic that they want to bring up or to talk about tonight, feel free to go ahead and add it directly into the document, and then we'll get to it here tonight, I'm sure. Okay, sweet. So let's see. So we are in the 1.16 milestone. Last time we talked at a high level about what the features and epics are that we're going to be focusing on. There are some opportunities for folks to get involved there. So let's take a quick look again at specifically for 1.16, what are the like high level epics that we'll be focusing on. So we'll go through these quickly because we talked about it last time too. But I think so developer experience improvements, continuing to make Crossplane easier to use, easier to get to a successful control plane. I think this one in particular is the biggest opportunity for the community to get involved and be contributing to this one. There's a lot of small items to, kind of keep improving the experience around the Crossplane CLI and keep adding small things in there. So there's, I think, a fair amount of opportunities for folks to get involved. If you're looking to be a contributor to Crossplane, this is probably one of the best opportunities for 1.16 timeframe to start writing some code and rolling up your sleeves. So feel free to ping me if you're interested in that, because we'll continue to, bless you, Victor. Yeah, so we will, there's a lot of small things to do there, but then like high level focus area would be kind of continuing to refine the validation experience that we added in 1.15 to continue to make that cover more cases and have, a more complete and holistic experience to make sure that your compositions that you're authoring and your testing and your functions and all that stuff are producing valid resources. We talked about the two big high-level features here that Nick is going to be driving in 1.16 timeframe. I obviously, as I moved all my participants' windows and everything out of the way, I don't know if Nick's actually on the call. Just for curiosity too, because I don't need a big explanation about these. Okay, I don't think Nick's here right now, but the whole idea here was to be able to, in a complete way, describe an entire control plane, right? Right now, you install your providers, your configurations, your functions, but they don't do anything because they're just types, right? They're just kind of like the definitions for things on your control plane. So being able to capture in a more complete way and in a single experience, like the configuration you need to do, like it's environment configs, or is it provider configs, or deployment runtime configs, whatever, all that sort of stuff, being able to capture all of that in a complete way so that you can create functional, fully complete control planes in a single push. That's something I think that in the realm of something that Carlos Santana had been talking about recently, of all the difficulty of orchestrating, creating all the providers and getting all the things configured and all that sort of stuff. And he did some Helm chart funny business to get that working there. So this would be kind of a more of a native way to get the entire control plane set up, ready to go. And then Ezgi, I think you're on the call here, right? Do you want to give a little quick, because I don't think we talked about it much last time. Do you want to kind of give the community here a high level perspective of where you're going with high level metric support in 1.16?
Yeah, sure. So currently we don't have much metrics on Crossplane side other than control runtime metrics. And we want to change that for improving our observability and how we monitor Crossplane. So there are some high-level metrics mentioned in this issue, and we also have another linked issue which covers mainly the MR level metrics. So the plan is having those metrics on low level and aggregate some of them to have a higher level understanding on what is going on claim level or composite level or composition level. Once we have implemented these metrics, we plan to integrate it with the Crossplane tab command as well. So I'm gonna focus on that work for this release.
That will be OpenTelemetry, I'm guessing, right?
We're gonna use Prometheus because controller runtime is also using Prometheus libraries. but it should also work with OpenTelemetry.
Is there a plan in just the observability overall to introduce things like OpenTelemetry traces? So, for example, like the being able to trace, the timing and stuff of a single reconciliation of a resource?
Yes, it's on the plane. We are planning to have those kind of metrics.
Awesome, Ezgi. Yeah, and Ezgi, would it be fair to say that is it a nice easy split kind of between this core Crossplane issue 4620 being kind of high level metrics for Crossplane in general, and then what is it, the 555 issue is more like lower level things at the managed resource level? Is that like kind of a split between the two of these issues here?
Kind of, yeah. There are some similarities in a couple of those metrics, I guess. I mean, we have some common metrics going on there, but mainly they're separated, as you mentioned.
Cool. All right, yeah, that helps to understand too. All right. So yeah, those are the high level roadmap epic sort of areas that we're focusing on in 1.16. We have about 2 months left or so. So we're about like 1/3 of the way through this the milestone so far. Early May is when we are targeting for this release here. So oh man, got a nice big backlog of folks adding themselves. Thank you for doing that, everybody. All right. So we've got about 2 months left until we are expecting to ship 1.16 early May. And I think that it's always useful to hear from folks of what the community in general thinks is important and wants to see some progress on. So feel free to reach out anytime or add your support to any of the issues that are on this board. This view is what I wanted to show. This view here of things that we believe are important in the project. Feel free to add your comments or add any sort of desires that you want to see for things to be included in this roadmap here. So that should be linked from the. I'm actually going to go update this perspective here. This one. There we go. All right. Anything that folks want to add or bring up about 1.16 before we move on?
Why is server-side applied getting pushed to 1.17 instead of trying to pull it into 1.16 for beta?
Resources, pretty much, Blake.
Okay.
Like we have, like the alpha implementation of it is out there in 1.15. Oh, sorry, 1.15, as you noticed, and we got some feedback on it so far, and I think we saw one of the first kind of not, I'm going to say major bugs, but one of the functionalities that does not work as expected, and it reported just in the past couple of days. So there will be some baking that needs to be done in that, but it's basically there's not an owner who's available and stepped up to take it right now, basically.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it is. I don't know if I would, because I think I saw on the roadmap it was like a P2 or something. I wonder if it should be maybe a little higher, at least to get it to beta. Because I think that would probably solve a lot of problems for at least downstream users.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, Blake. Yeah, I think it would be higher than a P2. So yeah, that's reasonable feedback. I'll agree with that.
This is server-side apply for what? Because I thought we already introduced server-side apply with composition function.
Yeah, good point. Good point, Matt. So the difference here is, maybe we should take a. I don't know if the issue will have this easily visible, but I know it in my head at least. So yes, Matt. So in composition functions, I guess okay. So there's two parts to think about here for when we use server-side apply. One of them is for at the claim level, synchronizing the claim and the composite resource underneath it using server-side apply to sync configuration changes to the claim and to the XR and back and forth, etc. So that is the alpha feature that Predrag put into Crossplane in the 1.15 timeframe. And then beneath that, there's the other connection between an XR itself and then all of the composed resources that belong to it. And so on that path, functions does use server-side apply by default. That's just the behavior you get when you're using composition functions and pipeline mode, etc. But then when you're using native patch and transform, that, synchronization between composite resource and all of its, children composed resources. That's the part that's right now does not have server-side apply at that level. So that's the breakdown between claim at the claim level and then the composed resources level.
Gotcha. Yeah,
So
I
is
didn't
this-
on that. So thank you for the clarification.
So is this issue for bringing server-side apply to claim composite syncing or to native patch and transform managed resource syncing, or both?
It's the whole area of server-side apply usage throughout all of Crossplane. And now what exactly gets implemented in that is ongoing, I would say. So this is supposed to capture everything. And right now, what's already in the code base and what is at the alpha level is that, claim to XR synchronization and using server-side apply for that. And then it's more of an open question of, hey, functions are getting a lot of adoption. That is where a lot of investment is going into. Doing the work and the engineering, the churn and, effort to update the native patch and transform to use server-side apply in its synchronization. The return on investment for that is there's an open question around that I don't think we have a full answer on right now.
Yeah, totally agree. I would lean towards return on investment, not worth it on that, but
Cool.
Just trying to get clarification on what you're saying. And for functions, you said server-side applies the default, but it's not configurable, right? It's the only option.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's on by default, but yeah, there's no other option. It's gonna always use it. Good clarification, Matt. Cool. Other questions on 1.16 timeframe and plans? Right. Jean, I was under the impression you weren't going to be with us this evening, my friends, but it looks like you are. Do you want to take the provider section then? Oh, you have a red X next to your name. I don't know. Maybe that means that you are just listening mode only. So oh, it went away. I'm going to wait 3 seconds. Oh, it came back. Okay, I'll take it then. So for provider updates here, Jean provided some status updates for us that everyone's focusing on extensions and providers and ecosystem has been working on recently. So there, as usual, there is a number of links here to some recent provider updates. And as always, if you have a provider within the ecosystem that you have some news to share about, feel free to drop a link in here so folks can get easier access to it. So the big investments here to know about is that it is, I wouldn't say it's a long-standing problem, but it is certainly an issue that's come into focus recently, where in the provider AWS, it does not cache its credentials. So it essentially makes a fair amount of calls, a large amount of calls to do authentication dance on basically every reconcile. So that definitely causes an issue. If you have like CloudWatch or Guard, whatever it is, I don't know the AWS terms. Manabu can correct me, I'm sure. But if you have those on, then that can, with a lot of calls happening to AWS, a lot of API calls, that can, cause increased cost for you there. So this is something that the team is very aware of, now is a problem for folks and wants to address that. And it is ongoing effort there. Some early code has been written that has shown some very promising and decrease in the number of calls there for authentication. So I think that'll get to a pretty good outcome here, and I'm hoping to ship that in the near future. If you all recall, the Upbound's official providers that they wrote were donated to the Crossplane organization. And it's taken a bit to go through the efforts to get those ready for moving those to the Crossplane Contrib organization. That we've already finished one of them. The provider Azure AD provider is already in Crossplane Contrib, and so you can check that out there. And then you can see that the rest of AWS, Azure, GCP, those ones will be moving in, I guess, next week as well. So there will be a resolution to that very soon, and those should be all available in Crossplane Contrib.
How does that impact importing the packages? Because I know right now it's like the path is like upbound. So will it change to Crossplane contrib, or will both be available for some period of time?
Yeah, good question. So I think that there's two things to parse out there that are, excuse me, really important to note. I think maybe we mentioned that in a previous community meeting. Yes. I think this is relevant right here, Blake. So I just bumped back a couple of weeks here. So a really key important part here is that, you know, if the API groups were to change names, that would be a pretty big pain where people would have to update, you know, their manifest and their compositions, et cetera, to point to new API groups and essentially do a migration. So that is not happening here as this. They will maintain their original, you know, API groups and type names and stuff. So all of that stuff doesn't change. This is some, you know, mostly a change, or exclusively a change for where the source code is located. So let's see. Yes, and then exactly what you asked, Blake, that it will still be published to you know, to the marketplace registry there and as upbound, you know, provider dash whatever for some time to, you know, help people move over there. But then essentially in a, I don't know exactly the timeline, but in some point, you know, the place where the package is installed from is, you know, in the Crossplane contrib organization, probably only. So I think that'll be a sufficient time to kind of move that over. But from the care that's being taken here, this should be fairly minimal disruption in terms of like, hey, compositions don't need to change, manifest don't need to change, MRs don't need to change, all that. It's just where you install the package from, that place changes, and then everything else should work on out.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question on the just going back to the AWS SDS calls.
Yes, Mando.
I swear I saw like some caching in like source code from this, like when I was working on it like earlier. Is that was I just reading that wrong? Like I swear there's some sort of caching.
Good call, Manabu. And was that on the, you know, upjet generated provider,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
were
it's
you potentially
upbound.
thinking about the? Oh, then okay. Huh. I don't know. That is a really good question because I don't know the full context here. Does anybody on the call know about previous caching that was enabled on authentication, assume role stuff?
Maybe I just didn't read it right. Okay. My bad.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get an answer for that. Manabu, but oh yeah, Jean mentioned in the chat here that there was a limited improvement done a few months ago. So maybe that was, you know, like a I don't know exactly what it was, but it was not like the full, like, yeah, we're actually caching the response here and, you know, able to use this for like a full hour or whatever it is until it expires. It was a much more minor improvement than that. So maybe that's what you saw.
Understood. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So yeah, and then the last update on providers is that the provider Azure is going to be bumped up to have the latest version of the underlying Terraform provider, and it'll be marked as a v1.0. And then I believe that just today, the same thing was accomplished with the GCP provider. So Fatih went ahead and released that just 1 hour ago. So that's super, super fresh news. Where, yeah, the GCP provider is now using the 5.x underlying Terraform provider. Yep, and you can expect the same from Azure very soon too. All right.
When we did the relevant to the providers, there were some issues with the conversion webhooks functions when those first rolled out in provider AWS 1.0 for the schema changes. And I saw there was someone who had proposals to like run them in a sidecar container, and like instead of, so that if there's a problem with the webhook, it doesn't crash the entire provider. Have there been any like upjet changes related to that, either completed or planned, for making that functionality more robust?
Yeah, good question, Matt. And I myself do not have an answer to that. I think that in general, the team that's focusing on extensions here has been pretty responsive to, you know, reports and issues and, you know, bugs about the things that aren't going smoothly with that. So I'd be surprised if nothing was invested in to make it more resilient, but I do not know for sure of, you know, what was done, when it was done, or where it is. So we can maybe figure out that in a follow-up.
Okay, John just said in the chat, basically no investment in that yet, nor currently planned. So I'll follow
Matt,
up
do
with
you have
him.
do you have a do you know an issue open for that already that kind of captures that scenario or what was happening with it?
I ran into it when I was trying to install the provider 1.0 and Crossplane 1.12, which then crashed because of a TLS issue and then brought down the entire provider. And so that was the trigger for the sort of catastrophic failure mode, which made me aware of the desire to have a better partial failure mode. I don't know if there's a specific issue for it, but if not, I can open one.
Okay, yeah. If
Probably
there
would be the place to open that. Is that right?
yeah, if it's a general thing, that probably sounds like the right place. Yeah, that'd be super helpful, so we can at least have that tracked and make sure that if there's a follow-up.
I think there was a Slack thread.
Okay, yeah. Getting that as an issue would be great if you want to follow up on that, Matt. That'd be awesome.
Will do.
Cool. All right. So once again, Kelly, the web scourer, did a fantastic job of finding all sorts of awesome content here that folks are writing and publishing, etc., about Crossplane. So we have a whole bunch of links this time from all sorts of things going on with Crossplane. It's really cool to see this sort of stuff. The ones I definitely wanted to call out, and I put them here at the top because they are relevant, but also because they are recent. So Victor has been working on a series of tutorials for Crossplane and kind of walking you through step by step and really helping you understand everything. And they're quite good. The second one, part 2, dropped today. So Victor, I think you said before the call started, you're looking for like 5 or 6 of them total about?
Yeah, for now, until more things become better.
Yep, cool. So yes, I think these are a fantastic resource, and I'll be steering people towards these to accelerate their journey of getting started with Crossplane. And it's really awesome to see this. Yep, and then Victor, I wanted to ask you about this one because I didn't get a chance to watch it. DevOps Paradox, you all were talking about the graduation proposal for Crossplane. Anything big come out of that, or any like critical questions come up there that were interesting?
Honestly, I have no idea. It was a live session. I don't even remember what I said over there. I would need to watch it to answer that question.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Right, nothing that was so jarring that it stuck with you, at least.
No, nothing. Just the gist of it is graduation is ongoing. Most likely not for this KubeCon, but not long from now.
Cool. So yeah, well, that sounds like a good segue to me then, man. So yeah, I shared this last time in the community meeting that we have the official graduation proposal open and available in the technical oversight committee repository for the CNCF. So this is our official proposal saying Crossplane is ready to graduate. It is mature in this and this way. It meets the criteria, etc. So no big update on that because we've done most all of our legwork to formalize the proposal and the due diligence and all that sort of stuff. So we're not doing a whole bunch of active things right now. It's kind of in the hands of the technical oversight committee and the process they go through to vet and to approve, etc. So that's cool. We're one thumbs up away from 200. So whoever wants to be lucky 200, if you haven't already put a thumbs up, it's up for you. But yeah, so one thing I did want to mention though, if folks are Christian got it. Awesome, fantastic. Thank you, Christian. Lucky number 200. So one thing I did want to mention is that the TOC they seem to move pretty fast on this one here this time, where they made a bunch of additions to or refine the graduation criteria to have a more comprehensive and deeper checklist than they have had in the past. So we got some advice from a kind member of the TOC to not necessarily proactively go and like change our proposal now to be aligned with this, even though the updates were merged, but that's I guess we'll be keeping a close eye on this. Essentially, is that the criteria has changed, and it's an outstanding question of does it affect in-flight proposals or does it not? And so, you know, if we have to make some adjustment, or if we have to incorporate this new criteria, you know, because the TOC says that everyone has to do it, then fine, that's okay. We'll do that. We want to be helpful. We want to be like good citizens here. But I already did take a full pass through the criteria, and I didn't see anything that I don't think we meet. So it'll be more legwork, and you know, we'll have to do some writing and you know, get out our pens and pencils and do some checklist stuff. But you know, we'll do it if we need to do it.
Do you have any estimation how far we are from graduating?
That's a really good question, Victor. And
Kind of months, weeks, years?
Yeah, I would say months. Months
Okay.
is the unit of measurement I will use here. I think a big thing is like the TOC is wants to be very fair now, and they want to exclusively go in order and sequence of the backlog of projects and their proposals, regardless of what state they're in necessarily. So they want to be, you know, sequential there. So I think the TOC is going to get more people on that, but they're also going to be very, you know, strict in the order that they go in. And ours is one of the more recent ones. So that does not put us near the top of the queue.
What are the benefits of graduation?
A couple ones, Matt. So, you know, the one that I like the most personally is that, you know, amongst a certain segment of the cloud native ecosystem and community, you know, it is a stamp of, you know, vetting and approval by the foundation itself that a project is mature, it's ready for scaled production usage, et cetera. So, you know, not everyone does this, and people on this call tend to be fairly early adopters on stuff and you know, risk takers, et cetera. So it's not really applicable, I think, to the folks on this call regularly, but the broader, you know, ecosystem and industry, you know, a certain segment of those folks do wait for things to become more mature and, you know, later stage adopters. And this is a signal that they can get in on the party as well and start to adopt the project, and it's ready for them too. So that's what the thing I like the most about it. And then the other big thing, well, I could think of two more things. Another one is that you get a lot of more benefits as a graduated project than you do as an incubated or sandbox project. For instance, at KubeCon, you get like, you know, a keynote. You get to be part of the keynotes talks, and you get, you know, preferential treatment for being included in different events and stuff like that. So there's some benefits directly there when you're a more mature project also. And then the last one is undoubtedly, it is a publicity, you know, marketing awareness sort of thing as well of, you know, the CNCF makes a big deal about us being a graduated project. More people hear about it from those, you know, those press releases and announcements and stuff like that. And more people come to the project that way too. All right. Cool. So 2 weeks from now, just a little bit less than 2 weeks, KubeCon Paris is starting. So just a quick note that we will go ahead and be canceling the community meeting for 2 weeks from now. It will be directly during a lot of the KubeCon events. So we'll just go ahead and cancel next time and see each other 2 weeks after that. I wanted to mention to everyone here on this call, as you all are obviously, you know, frequent members of the community, and we would love to see you, that if you are in Paris, please do join our party that we're throwing on, I think it's on Wednesday evening in Paris. And so here's a link here that if you want to come and join and party with us, it's not just Crossplane, but it's also with the Argo folks and the Caverno folks as well. So kind of a few open source CNCF projects getting together and, you know, community party on, have a good time. So if you want to register, go ahead and click that link. And then if you do register, let me know as well, so that I can make sure, you know, you get past any sort of wait list or anything like that. So it would be awesome to see people there, but that's not the only opportunity, because we'll be there all week and there's lots of talks and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we have these links here for all the Crossplane applicable or relevant talks in Paris. There's a fair amount of them, but also something I wanted to kind of check in with people on is, as we're finalizing all these talks and you know, kind of doing updates and sharing everything that's going on, I just wanted to see if folks had any ideas about what they want to see in a Crossplane talk, about like a deep dive on any particular topic that's interesting, or anything that folks want to know more about, or you already know about it and you think it would be interesting for a broader audience. So if anybody has any ideas on things they want to see in a Crossplane talk at on the KubeCon venue type of stage, let me know, and I'm certainly be able to incorporate it. Victor, how many talks do you have? 2?
Including rejects and Colo?
Oh yeah, across all of them, I guess. Yeah.
4 or 5.
Dang. That's gonna be a busy week for you, man.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. All right, so yeah, I hope to see everybody in Paris, and yeah, do join us at the party. We'd love to see you there. Okay, we kind of, Ezgi, you already got a chance to talk about high-level metrics, observability stuff, these 2 issues here. Just another reminder, if folks, have an idea about, what metrics do they think are important to understanding what's going on with their control plane, or, is anything wrong with my control plane, to go ahead and add it as a comment on one of these issues here. And that'll be something that we can incorporate in while we're investing in this now.
Yeah, Jared, maybe I can chime in here too a little
Yeah.
bit. So the benefit of these metrics that are being added is for cloud platform creators to be able to offer service level objectives to their users, right? So you build a platform using Crossplane, and then you have users, and these users want to know from you, well, what can I expect? And so that's why there are some of those claim level metrics in there that inform about durations, right? Because in essence, for a user of your platform, it's more important what the end-to-end expectation can be, right? And that is like, how long does it take to get the whole stack composed that they're requesting through the claim? And so that's a real use case that I think is really beneficial for many cloud platform creation teams.
But it's also, is there any attempt in the future to bring in metrics of the real resources? Because that's the end goal, right? Especially if you're building a platform, rather than is MR running, but is my RDS running, right? Or is it performant, and so on and so forth?
Yeah, there are actually 2 pieces to it. So there's the one piece that is the end-to-end time it takes to create all the external resources within that claim. In addition to that, today in Crossplane, there's a synced and a readiness status. And so in some cases, when there's a claim that hopes to mutate certain parameters that apply to the external resource, the readiness state remains ready, but the update may not actually succeed. And so I think down the line, and maybe not within these metrics here, but down the line, I think there has been interest to know, is the external resource actually configured in the requested way? And I think that can then also, dovetail back into service level objectives.
Victor, what you were saying is your thought that, for example, because Crossplane and the provider knows about the RDS cluster in the case of an RDS cluster, we should also in Crossplane be able to provide metrics about that RDS cluster, through things like CloudWatch, right? Where the provider may look at CloudWatch.
That's where I'm going, right? Because
yeah,
realistically, what I really, really care is whether RDS is running, not whether MR that manages RDS is running, right? I mean, I care about both, of course, but yes, like CloudWatch data or data from the provider, if we could somehow fetch it and show it together with the, data that MRs already showed, that would be big, I believe.
Yeah, so for that one, is actually it's I think this would be really cool, right? So someone requests an external resource and they get also the monitoring dashboard composed by Crossplane with it. And I was looking into, well, what would it take to write a function that receives as an input just the resource for which it should create the dashboard. And then it goes out, and there's actually in AWS, there's an RSS feed for the metrics that are available for the different resources. So if the function would actually consume that RSS feed and translate that into a dashboard for a, provided dashboard type like a Grafana or a Datadog or a New Relic, and then it could compose it, and then the user who has the claim for the resource also gets the endpoint for that custom created dashboard.
Now you're revealing my talk at KubeCon.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I think part of the problem I would have with, let's say, Crossplane or the providers themselves talking to CloudWatch or some other thing is, right, a lot of those services have a cost per call, which can be very expensive when you start doing it at scale where you're managing thousands of resources through those things. But I do think setting more of a standard of, right, I have an RDS cluster. I also, a part of that, get a CloudWatch dashboard or a Grafana dashboard to monitor the observability of that with key metrics, and maybe making those a little bit more accessible in a composition could be interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be necessarily that it's pulled by Crossplane, right? But somehow relating XRs with data, with metrics. Grafana dashboard, why not, right? Whatever that something is. But then we can move towards day 2 operations, really.
Nice. Yeah, sounds like there's some good alignment in the discussion that's going on there. So that sounds really cool. And if there's there's things to add to the issues here to kind of keep those ideas for posterity on those issues, then feel free to add those as well. Cool. Good discussion, guys. So sweet. Yeah, so Carlos added an idea about having an awesome Crossplane repo, which I think is pretty reasonable. Other projects do this as well, and it's can be a good kind of, one-stop shop, let's say, for finding good resources about the project and technology and such. So I don't see any reason not to do this. I think that would be good. I did want to check in with folks about if they had good ideas about curating this type of thing. Because I wouldn't call it a failure mode, but one way that this could be less useful is if every single resource that anyone's ever seen about Crossplane just gets thrown into a big list. Then it might be challenging to find things that are going to be most helpful and help accelerate the community's journey, right? That's kind of a big point here, I think. So if folks have ideas about how best to curate these, or they've seen good examples of curating these type of lists where it's the best resources are easily discoverable. I think that's going to be a key to making this successful. So I'm happy to create a repo for this, and I'll check in because I don't think Carlos is on the call today, but I'm happy to check in with Carlos to see if he wants to be a maintainer for it, to kind of manage it over time, and see if it definitely anybody else who's excited about contributing to it, and if they want to help maintain it, then that sounds awesome. We can get a community effort around it. But that's my biggest question for it right now is curation of it. Okay, so 3 more things on the list here. I think I wanted to spend more time on this. We might talk about that a little bit more later on, but I wanted to shout out to the KCL project. They went ahead, and I didn't know about it until it was done, but they created a new function to basically enable you to use KCL to write your compositions in. So just show this off. So it's been donated to the Crossplane organization. It's published in the Marketplace registry as well, so folks can get started with this right away. So this blog post kind of goes through the entire walkthrough about how to use it and such. But here's kind of the important part. In your composition, you're going to use a pipeline of functions. You're going to use the KCL function. And then basically in there, you have the opportunity to use KCL as the high-level language and high-level experience to compose together your cloud infrastructure resources. I have not written a lot of KCL myself, so I don't know all of the syntax yet, but it does seem particularly useful for programmatically building out, declarative configuration sort of stuff. So this is a good example, I think. That it takes information in from the claim or the composites, and then, make some conditional type of decisions on that information from the developer, and then, or injecting that into resources that it's conditionally creating, et cetera. So it's very cool. I think this is just another great example of now there's multiple opportunities, multiple different choices you have for how do you want to build your compositions and what language do you want to do them in. KCL is another option. So I think that's super, super cool to see that. And the KCL project folks, they drove that on their own and donated it. So really cool to see that happen. I'm really appreciative for that. Hassan made a new function as well. I just wanted to shout out to function sequencer, which essentially gives you the opportunity to kind of declare the order in which objects inside your composition will be created. So you can say, hey, do this one's first and then do this one second. So, I think that, Hassan may be refining the experience of this over time, but this is another good example of like, man, the opportunities for controlling the way that composition works now is like wide open for lots and lots of different experiences to provide here. So I think this is something that folks had asked for a while, and like, oh, hey, here's a function to do it, and maybe that could be integrated into something and more mainstream, but hey, there's another function that could do something useful as well. So I'm really happy to see that too. Maybe we'll have Hassan demo it for us sometime soon too. All right. And then finally, so we have a really cool rhythm now of blog posts being posted to the Crossplane blog. So we talked about function KCL, then just today, we published a blog post from none other than our very own Blake Romano here, who is on the call. That's kind of talking through how they're using functions and their approach that they took. So I think a key takeaway here, you can obviously learn a lot from how Blake and his team is using functions. But a key takeaway here also is that we're getting a lot of community-driven blog posts, which is really cool to see. So we have one coming out soon for the provider Ceph that the Akamai folks have been driving, provider HTTP that Ariel has been driving. So, there's lots of opportunities for folks to share what they're doing in Crossplane and get it out to the world for them to see it as well. So, we've got a good momentum around this now. So anyone who has like a desire to share what they're building, how they're building it, what they're doing with Crossplane, all that sort of stuff, like reach out to us. We're happy to get you as an author on the blog. You can get that, published and out there for the world to see. Yeah, so we'd love to see that and just reach out anytime for that. And Blake, thank you very much for the officially most recent blog post on Crossplane. Cool. All right, that's everything I had on the agenda here for tonight. So anything else that folks wanted to bring up before we went ahead and adjourned? Okay, cool. Well, all right, great discussion, great questions tonight, everybody. Hopefully we'll see some of you all in Paris in a couple of weeks. And if not, we will see you for the next community meeting 2 weeks after KubeCon. Awesome. Good to see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.